Kelly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for letting me come in and observe your classroom during your math lesson.
Because I did have one or two students that just were not there. They were somewhere else. Well, I had one student that 2 minutes in, he decided that this wasn't for him and he wanted to entertain everybody else with whatever he wanted to do instead of listening to the lesson. And then that encouraged another student to join in and, causing the whole class to be really disrupted.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst lesson you've taught and 10 being the best, how would you rank that lesson?
That was more of a 6.
6. What pleased you about that lesson?
That I was able to finally complete it. Um, I did see some areas where I can improve as far as getting more back and forth in engagement instead of lecturing more. So I need to work on getting more feedback as I'm teaching.
Okay. What would have what would have to change to move the lesson closer to a 10? Anything in addition to what you just mentioned?
Yes, I would have to get more engagement from the student. So I need to find a strategy that'll keep that one student engaged and not have the other students join in disruption. So maybe, like I said, more back and forth, hopefully, with the students so that they can be more interested in what's being shared with them from me versus whatever somebody else is doing.
What would your students be doing differently if your class was a 10?
They would be more interactive, and learning, because sometimes the lessons may go over their heads and you can't really tell if they got it or not. So maybe getting that immediate, um, showing that immediate catch, I guess you could say, that they caught it and that you're like, okay, let's next time we'll move on to the next step instead of having to go back and reteach. So that would be a 10. Well, if I were to give examples or problems for them to figure out right there on the carpet, where they are actually processing through the steps that I just taught. That would show that, okay, I caught it, I'm applying it, and I'm starting to understand what you just showed me. That would be a way for me to see that they caught it.
The friend that you mentioned, does he, is he someone that would engage with that or would he avoid that?
I think he would, because it would be something new. It wouldn't be the traditional, um, oh, here's the same thing over and over again. I think he would engage a little bit better because it is something new. It's a different way of looking at things or applying things for him. Because he seems to be more of a hands-on. Like, if I can touch it, do it myself, then I'm gonna be into it. But if I'm watching you do it on a board, I'm not engaged, so I'm gonna find something else to do. So that probably would work better for him.
Okay.
That's another way of, I guess, differentiating live in the moment. So I think it would work.
How could we measure that change?
I think by him disrupting less or not at all, maybe keeping track of how many disruptions he does, or if any, during the math lessons. That would be a gauge of if it's working
I think
for
that's a
us.
great idea. That's
Mhm.
something we could definitely work to gather data on with corrections and respectful interactions. And as you said, no limiting the disruptions.
Mhm.
And do you want that to be your goal?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it would benefit not just him, but the rest of the class, being able to see how they also can participate in their own learning by paying attention, first of all, but also being able to apply what they learn and get a positive result for themselves, not just for the teacher, you know?
Yes.
So they can see, oh, I am listening and I am learning, and it is working whenever I do it by myself.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the goal you would like to hit to better improve the engagement of your lessons is to increase the appropriate student behavior in the classroom?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
If you could hit that goal, would it really matter to you?
Yeah, it would, because it would show that I was able to find a strategy that actually worked and benefited not just my um my goal personally as a teacher, but also the goal that to get the students to the next level. And they could apply this not only to math, but everything else, as far as school or something outside of school, figuring like, okay, let me just sit and pay attention. I'll get something hopefully out of this, and then I can move forward or move on to the next.
And what teaching strategy can you use to hit your goal? Is there maybe something that could be used in all areas, like you said, outside of math?
Maybe something of like an organized steps. Like if you get this done, you get this, and then it'll go up as you go along. Just like we mentioned before, our PBIS points. So if they do this, they get points. And this is basically independent, not me reminding you, you got to do this to get this point. It's more like, oh, let them intrinsically say, you know what, I really do want to get some points so I can move on to the next level. So I think by doing that and then having them take those points and get their own reward that they choose, not just something that I say, oh, here you go. Here's a Skittle or here's a sticker or something. They can choose what they want. So it's more, again, intrinsic where they're working towards that goal, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I like that you mentioned the technical portion of using the PBIS rewards.
Hmm.
I think that's definitely something we can look into more and use that to help you reach your goal.
Hmm.
What do you think? What are your next steps?
I think being able to have them buy in to that into that next part of it, because just me teaching a lesson and having them pay attention is not really going to get it. So I think by showing them, look, if you are able to maintain this attention and also learn, you can also get this part of it where you can get something outside of just a good grade. You can get something else. So maybe the buy-in is necessary, showing them what they could get, not just telling them what they can get out of it.
So I love what you just said, and I think a great way to help with that is maybe setting up a class store on PBIS to go with what you said about their rewards and them having choice.
Yes. Okay. That'll work.